They didn't come for the morning rush. That was Maya Cross's first instinct when 3 men in crisp naval intelligence uniforms swept through the doors of Blackwater Bay Diner, like sharks cutting through dark water. Their synchronized movement killed conversations mid-sentence, turning the bustling waterfront eatery into a tomb of clinking coffee cups and nervous whispers. Maya sat in her usual corner booth, back to the wall, eyes automatically tracking the newcomers, while her fingers remained steady around her steaming mug. To anyone watching, she looked like just another 3-4-year-old local jeans, leather jacket, auburn hair, pulled into a practical ponytail. But those who looked closer might notice how she'd positioned herself with clear sightlines to 3 exits, or how her stillness carried the coiled energy of a predator at rest. The lead officer, a commander with ice-cold eyes, approached her table with the measured steps of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. His name tag read Blackstone, and his bearing screamed Special Operations Background. "Miss Cross," his voice cut through the diner's silence like a blade, "we need to have a conversation." Maya's pulse quickened, but her face remained impassive. She'd spent years perfecting that mask. "About what, Commander?" "About the stories you've been telling at Anchor Point Veterans Hospital. Specifically, your claims of serving with Ghost Squadron." The diner's atmosphere grew thick as fog. Somewhere, a fork clattered against a plate. Maya felt the familiar weight of suspicion pressing against her chest, the same weight that had driven her from 3 different towns in 5 years. "I shared experiences with people who understand," she said carefully, setting down her coffee with deliberate precision. "That's not a crime." Commander Blackstone's smile was razor thin. "It is when those experiences are impossible. Ghost Squadron was a myth, Miss Cross. A legend used to explain operations too classified for conventional units. Women didn't serve in those capacities. Not then. Not ever." The words hit like physical blows. Maya's jaw tightened as memories surfaced: midnight insertions into hostile territory, firefights in places that didn't exist on maps, teammates who died in her arms while she worked frantically to save them with field medicine and sheer determination. "Check your records again," she said quietly. "We did." Maya Cross, discharged hospital corpsman, served with the 3rd Medical Battalion. Nothing more, nothing classified. Nothing that would put you anywhere near special operations. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a shout. "So either you're delusional or you're a fraud. Either way, you're coming with us." The accusation hung in the air like smoke from a battlefield. Maya felt the eyes of everyone in the diner boring into her neighbors who'd known her for 2 years, thinking they understood her quiet nature and her job at the Marine Rescue Center. The fragile life she'd built in Blackwater Bay crumbled in real time. She rose slowly, hands visible and steady. "I'll come, but I want to call someone first." "You can make your call from the base," Blackstone replied, gesturing toward the door where his team waited like an honor guard for the condemned. As Maya walked toward the exit, the diner's owner, Sam Rodriguez, called out from behind the counter, "Maya, don't let them intimidate you. We know who you are." Maya paused, turning back with a grateful nod. But inside, she wondered if anyone truly knew who she was, including herself. The line between the operator she'd been and the civilian she'd become had blurred beyond recognition. Outside, a black SUV idled at the curb like a hearse. As Maya approached, she realized this wasn't about stolen valor. Someone had gone digging into her past, and they'd found threads that weren't supposed to exist. The question was, who was pulling those threads, and why? The ride to Naval Intelligence Station Red Rock felt like a descent into purgatory. Maya sat between 2 silent escorts while Blackstone rode shotgun, occasionally speaking in codes that made her skin crawl with recognition. She understood every word, the language of black operations, of missions that existed in the spaces between official records. The station itself was a fortress of concrete and steel, rising from the cliffs above Red Rock Harbor. As they passed through multiple security checkpoints, Maya cataloged escape routes by instinct, though she knew running would only confirm their suspicions. The interrogation room was a windowless cube designed to strip away comfort and hope. Blackstone sat across from her, flanked by Lieutenant Commander Jessica Torres, a JAG officer whose reputation for crushing false claims preceded her like a storm front. "Let's start simple," Torres began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd made careers disappear with a signature. "Where did you serve between 2012 and 2018? Maya met her gaze without flinching. "Classified locations. Operations that don't appear in standard databases." Blackstone laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Every fraud says that. Classified this, classified that. Do you have any idea how many people try to steal valor with that exact story?" "I'm not trying to steal anything. I'm trying to protect operational security that apparently still matters. Torres leaned forward, her eyes like surgical instruments. Then give us something concrete. Names, dates, mission parameters. Something we can verify. Maya was quiet for a long moment, weighing classified protocols against the need to defend herself. Finally, she spoke. Operation Crimson Tide, Somalia Coast, 2015. High-value target acquisition in a location that officially never existed. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Blackstone's casual confidence wavered slightly. Torres's pen stopped moving across her notepad. That operation is classified above your clearance level, Torres said carefully. Yes, Maya replied. It Island. For the first time since her arrest, doubt crept into their expressions. Blackstone recovered quickly, but Maya had caught the hesitation. Someone in this room knew more than they were letting on. Assuming you're not completely fabricating this, Torres continued, who could verify your participation? Maya's answer came without hesitation. Admiral Rebecca Storm, former Director of Naval Special Activities Division, 2010 to 2019. Blackstone's face went pale. Torres set down her pen entirely. In the silence that followed, Maya could hear her own heartbeat echoing off the walls. Admiral Storm doesn't take calls about stolen valor cases, Torres said finally. She'll take this one, Maya replied with quiet confidence. Tell her it's about the Phantom Medic. She'll remember. The interrogation paused, while Torres and Blackstone stepped outside to confer in urgent whispers. Maya sat alone, memories flooding back like a tide she couldn't stop. The Phantom Medic, that's what they'd called her. The corpsman who could navigate behind enemy lines like a ghost, extract intelligence like a spy, and fight like a demon when cornered. She'd saved more special operators than any 3 medics combined, but her existence had been scrubbed from every official record. When they returned, Torres looked like she'd seen a specter. Admiral Storm is flying in from D.C. She'll be here tomorrow morning. Maya nodded, unsurprised. Rebecca Storm had been more than her commanding officer. She'd been her protector, the one who'd made sure Maya's service remained invisible, even as it saved countless lives. In the meantime, Blackstone said, trying to regain control, you're confined to base. One chance to get your story straight before you face someone who actually knows the truth. Maya smiled for the first time since her arrest. Commander, I've been telling the truth all along. Tomorrow, you'll understand why that's been the most dangerous thing I could do. That night, in a secure communications center 3 time zones away, Admiral Rebecca Storm sat at her desk, reviewing files that hadn't been opened in years. The call from Naval Intelligence Station Red Rock had shaken her more than she cared to admit. Maya Cross, the Phantom Medic, had surfaced after 5 years of perfect invisibility. Storm pulled up Maya's ghost file, the one that existed in a database so classified that only a handful of people in the world had access. The record painted a picture of extraordinary service. 47 successful missions, 23 high-value targets neutralized or captured, 156 friendly personnel saved under fire. Maya had been the perfect operator, deadly when necessary, invisible when required, and compassionate enough to risk her own life for wounded teammates. The program that had created Maya Cross was Storm's greatest achievement and her deepest regret. In an era when women were officially barred from special operations, Storm had quietly identified female personnel with exceptional capabilities and inserted them into critical missions. They'd called themselves the Phantoms operators, who existed in the spaces between official military structure and complete deniability. Maya had been the best of them, but the program's success had made it a target for those who believed women had no place in combat. When political pressure mounted, Storm had been forced to scatter her operators to the wind, erasing their service records and leaving them to blend back into conventional military roles. Storm picked up her secure phone and made a call that would change everything. The next morning, Blackwater Bay Diner buzzed with unusual activity. News of Maya's arrest had spread through the tight-knit coastal community like wildfire. Sam Rodriguez served coffee to a mix of locals and obvious federal agents, while outside, news vans from 3 different networks set up their equipment. At Naval Intelligence Station Red Rock, Maya sat in a different room, larger, with windows overlooking the harbor. The change in venue told her everything she needed to know about how drastically the situation had shifted overnight. Admiral Rebecca Storm entered like a force of nature. At 52, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd navigated the highest levels of military and political power, while fighting battles most people never knew existed. Her silver hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, but her eyes held the warmth Maya remembered from their most dangerous operations. Petty Officer Cross, Storm said, using Maya's former rank for the first time in years. Admiral, Maya replied, rising from her chair with military precision. Storm turned to address the room, which now included Blackstone, Torres, and several other officers Maya didn't recognize. Gentlemen, ladies, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. Some details will remain sealed, but enough truth will be revealed to resolve this situation. She activated a secure tablet and projected an image onto the wall, a photograph of Maya, in full tactical gear, standing beside Storm and 5 other operators in what looked like a war zone. This photograph was taken in 2016 during Operation Ghost Walker, a joint mission to eliminate a terrorist cell that had acquired chemical weapons. The woman you've accused of stolen valor led the medical team that kept our operators alive during a 14-hour firefight in conditions I cannot fully describe. Blackstone stared at the image, his earlier confidence crumbling. But the records were classified and compartmentalized by my direct order, Storm interrupted. Petty Officer Cross was part of an experimental program that proved women could serve in special operations roles years before official policy changed. Her service record was sealed to protect both the program and the operators involved. Torres found her voice. Why reveal this now? Storm's expression hardened. Because someone has been systematically hunting former Phantom operatives. 3 others have faced similar accusations in the past 6 months. Someone is trying to force us out of hiding. Maya felt ice in her veins. Who? Storm pulled up another file. Surveillance photos, financial records, communication intercepts. Defense contractor named Marcus Kane, former Navy intelligence officer who was cashiered for selling classified information. He's been working with foreign interests to identify and expose operators from classified programs. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Blackstone was the first to speak. You're saying this was a setup? Staff Sergeant Derek Morrison, the man who filed the complaint against Maya, received $50,000 3 days before contacting your office. Morrison was an operator in one of our conventional units. He knew just enough about our classified missions to make the accusations credible. Maya's hands clenched into fists. Where is he now? In custody, Storm replied, along with Kane and 2 of his associates. But the damage is done. 3 Phantom operators have been exposed. Their covers are blown, their safety compromised. Torres leaned forward. What do you need from us? Storm's smile was grim as winter. Help me bring the rest of my people in from the cold. Maya's the only one with the skills and knowledge to reach them before Kane's partners do. Maya felt the familiar weight of operational responsibility settling on her shoulders. For 5 years, she'd tried to be a civilian. Now, the shadows were calling her back. Admiral, she said quietly, I thought that life was over. It never ends for people like us, Storm replied. It just goes underground. But now it's time to surface. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in a secure briefing room at a facility that didn't exist on any map. Around her sat 7 women, whose faces carried the same mix of wariness and determination she saw in her own mirror each morning. They were the surviving Phantoms operators, who'd spent years hiding their true identities, while watching official military policy slowly catch up to what they'd proven years earlier. Kane's network is larger than we initially thought, Admiral Storm explained to the assembled group. He's been selling information about classified programs to multiple foreign governments. Our identities were just the beginning. Captain Lisa Chen, formerly of Phantom Team Alpha, raised her hand. What's the mission? Storm's expression was steel wrapped in velvet. We're going to do what we do best. Operate in the shadows, gather intelligence, and eliminate the threat. The only difference is this time we're hunting the hunters. Maya looked around the room at faces she hadn't seen in years. Women who'd served alongside her in places that didn't exist, who'd bled and fought and saved lives, while the official world pretended they didn't exist. They'd been scattered to the wind, forced to hide their greatest achievements, but they'd never stopped being operators. Kane made one critical mistake, Maya said, her voice carrying the authority that had made her legendary among special operations medics. He assumed we'd disappeared completely. He forgot that Phantoms don't die, they just wait for the right moment to reappear. Storm nodded approvingly. Operation Resurrection begins now. We're going to remind the world why the Phantom program was created, and why trying to hunt us was the worst mistake Marcus Kane ever made. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the Atlantic, but inside the briefing room, 8 women who'd served in the deepest shadows prepared to step back into the light. This time, they wouldn't be invisible, they'd be inevitable. 6 months later, Maya Cross stood at the podium of the Naval War College, facing an audience of current and future military leaders. Her dress blues bore decorations that had been classified for years but were now visible for the first time. Silver star, bronze star with V device, purple heart with 2 clusters. The ribbon rack told a story of service that few could imagine. The Phantom program officially ended in 2018, she began, her voice carrying across the packed auditorium. But its legacy lives on in current special operations doctrine. Women now serve openly in roles we had to fight for in secret. The battles we fought in shadows paved the way for the operators who serve in full view today. In the front row, Admiral Storm watched with pride as Maya continued her briefing. The Marcus Kane network had been dismantled completely, its members facing federal charges for espionage and treason. The surviving Phantom operators had been given a choice: return to civilian life with full recognition of their service, or join a new program that would integrate their skills into official special operations units. Maya had chosen a third path. She'd returned to Blackwater Bay, but not as a woman hiding from her past. Now she ran a program that identified and recruited exceptional female personnel for special operations training. The girl who'd once saved lives in secret now shaped the future of women in combat. Commander Blackstone approached the podium as Maya's presentation concluded. The man who'd arrested her for stolen valor now served as her liaison with Naval Special Warfare Command. Questions? Maya asked the audience. A young ensign raised her hand. Ma'am, how do you balance operational security with recognition of service? Maya smiled, thinking of all the operators who'd served in shadows, their sacrifices known only to their teammates. Ensign, the greatest victory isn't having your story told. It's knowing that your service made it possible for others to serve openly. Some of us had to be ghosts so that future generations could be heroes. As the audience filed out, Maya caught sight of a familiar face in the back of the auditorium. Sam Rodriguez from the diner had driven 6 hours to attend her presentation. He gave her a thumbs up and a smile that said everything words couldn't express. That evening, Maya stood on the cliffs above Blackwater Bay, watching the sunset paint the harbor in shades of gold and crimson. Her phone buzzed with a text from one of her former Phantom teammates. Saw the news coverage. Proud to have served with you. Stay dangerous. Maya smiled, pocketing the phone. She'd spent years believing that her greatest service had been invisible. Now she understood that her greatest achievement might be making sure no future operator had to serve in shadows, unless they chose to. The war was never really over for people like her, but now at least, they could fight it in the light.